Yo, yo, yo. Hello and welcome back to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 102, 102. Chris is with me again. We're both fresh on our return from our holidays and hope you've been keeping well between this and the last episode. You will have been listening to Jack Watson talking all things American football. Jack, I know you're probably listening to this again, mate. Good to have you on board. Chris, how have you been? How's your holiday?
It was wonderful, mate. It was lovely. That was the first holiday I've been on since before lockdown. Long time that. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice. You've been away yourself as well. How was your holiday?
Didn't go as far away as you. Where
No.
did you went Portugal? Yeah. The star, just being serviced with a drink. What an absolutely incredible wife. What a wonderful. She's scoring some good points at the minute, I'm telling you. She made me lunch. She's made me a drink. She's killing it. Absolutely
Well,
killing it. Although this could actually feature into today's episode, which the main topic is the fragility of life at the top and the instability that comes along with it. When you think it's going sweet and you think everything's gravy, be very wary, my friend.
interesting.
Everything's
Interesting.
good. She's doing well. She's doing really well. It's all about making an effort, consistently making an effort, consistently making an effort. That's rule number one for life. Just consistently make an effort. Um, yeah, we've been away in Wales celebrating our 1 year anniversary as well.
Congratulations.
So we just passed that. Had a
How
real
was it? What did you do?
genuinely, I'm not really good at doing nothing. I get very fidgety very quickly. So I spent the first 3 days doing absolutely nothing, chilling out, relaxing. And when I say doing nothing, like that's still going for walks on a regular basis, taking the dog out, going down to the beach, rest, messing around on there, and going on walks, hikes, reading books. Actually, read a full book. Interesting. I think I've got it here.
What was it?
Playmakers by Mike Florio. And it's all about how the NFL really works and doesn't. And from what I can tell, it's been written by a guy that hates the league, hates the NFL, hates the game. Because it just seems like if, every scandal near enough that has ever occurred in the NFL is within these pages. Um, Interesting read, but hard at parts because I just think I can't quite get my head around why he'd written the book and why he seemed to hate the league so much. Because he didn't, yeah, I prefer the more forward thinking, like what we could do is this, let's fix it like this. Instead, it just seemed like a collection of articles that he'd written over the years about various things that players and people have been doing and league officials have been doing and just gone bleh in a book. So yeah, read all that and had a really nice time. Then the last couple of days of the holiday, decided to get the legs moving, did a couple of runs off into the hills, into the mountains in Wales. And yeah, absolutely blasted the legs. So hard to sit around and do nothing. I know you're very similar, aren't you? Like you go away and keep busy, don't you?
Yeah, we did the exact same. Read some books. We stayed in a villa, so there was a group of us. We stayed in a villa, but I think we spent maybe cumulatively over the week, probably one day at the pool. The rest of the time we were out and about, long walks, runs, went to the gym as well, just because it had facilities, so we used them. It was a golf resort, so I didn't play golf. I'm not going to claim to have played golf, but we did go to a driving range a couple of times, actually three times, and that was my first experience of playing golf. It was very technical. I'm going to tell everyone the same thing that everyone's asked me since. Have you taken up golf now? The answer is no. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it. Actually, I loved it. The driving range was really, really good fun because, well, is there anyone out there who doesn't want to twat a ball really, really far? Like, there's nothing but satisfaction in that.
Spent most of my sporting career doing that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's good fun, but
It,
it requires a lot of
it,
skill.
there's something therapeutic about just, like more often than not, like with golf, it's probably easier for me to relate to this because more often than not, you get it slightly wrong. So you don't get the best distance, you don't get the best flight. Sometimes it'll go straight up. Sometimes you fade it off to the right hand side. but the one that you get sweet straight out of the screws and you watch it travel like a dart, like there is no better feeling than when you absolutely nail it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And it was very, very technical. And I don't love it more than I love other sports enough to commit to playing that instead of something else. But on what you've said there, it reminded me of, remember we played cricket, and when you hit a cricket shot, you could hit a good shot, but sometimes it'd like the vibration would come from the bottom of the bat if you've not quite caught it sweet. You've hit it hard and you've hit it well, but it'd vibrate through and you'd feel it through your hands, through your wrists, and through your forearms. When you catch it sweet, it like right in the sweet spot towards the bottom middle, and it just like you don't even feel it hit the ball. It just comes off it and it goes flying. It was very much like that with me.
Do you know what? This is the thing. Like you mastered this as a kid with your you absolutely nailed that. Like get an edge on it, get a thick edge on it, watch it roll down to third man. I remember playing cricket with you and dad, and you just used to do that to me all the time. And then you just think, "Oh, I'll have to bowl a little bit straighter and put it a bit straighter, and then bang straight out the middle." Very infuriating.
Actually,
Also, do you remember when I first moved into my new house, into this house, and we were playing cricket in the garden?
in your back garden at Urmston.
Yeah, yeah. Who was it that hit the shot that smashed the light? And then I was like, shit, like this is why I can't have nice things
Oh, it must have been you then. If that was what you said, it must have been you.
with me. I was about to blame you, but I think it might have been me. Yeah. Don't tell Fiona. Don't tell Fiona. That's
Oh,
classic.
I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten about that. I'm glad that's there.
So anyway, like you playing golf, and you are the man who been told fairly recently you have a joint facet lesion in your lower back. Don't do any fast rotational work, and you went off to the driving range. What a fucking legend.
Yeah.
If there's ever a classic example of don't do this, all right, 5 minutes later, driving range.
Yeah. I mean, I said to the guy who does play golf out of the group, I was like, I made him aware of it, and I was like, the original diagnosis was actually a year and a half ago. And it's very much come back on over the last few months from playing, obviously, jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, 4 times a week, depending on the week, and then football twice a week as well, and doing strength and conditioning, CrossFit stuff off the back of as well. And I've not trained the week preceding to a training degree. I'd trained in like a physiohabilitative. I've just made that word up. A rehabilitative manner, like really like anti-rotation work and stuff like that. And he started to feel a bit better. And he said to me, like, the thing is, like, there's absolutely zero, but you can try and smash it if you want, but you'll just miss it. You will just miss it. You won't hit it. So literally, what we agreed was I could go half a backswing and then half forward. Turns out I was pretty good at it. I was pretty handy. So I then just was like, he was like, right, now you can start adding this in if your back feels okay. And it did. So I just did. Yeah. I wouldn't advise it to people, but also I would, this goes back to the age old thing of, I remember me and you've spoken about this. You'd much rather have someone that you have to rein back in and tell them, all right, okay, maybe you shouldn't be doing that, rather than someone who's just not even going to try things,
Yeah.
like scared of doing stuff and putting themselves out there. And that's very much me. Like I'll go for it. I'll give it a go, and then I will try and rein it back in, rather than just sitting around doing nothing, feeling sorry for myself, being bored. Like that's not me.
Yeah.
So
It's much easier to get really good results with someone who just goes and tries things and is willing to do anything. Like, for example, dog training, training dogs, working with dogs. If you've got a dog that is sat there not motivated to do anything, you cannot train it because you're trying to ingrain habits into dogs. And same with people, you're trying to ingrain habits and develop basic pathways for just doing things like chunking behaviors. And if you're the kind of person that just sits there and does nothing, it's really difficult to kind of reward and reinforce the good pattern. And then also, like, if you do something slightly wrong, it can be corrected. But if you don't do anything wrong, you can't correct or provide any sort of feedback on it. So yes, do things. Did you watch the FA Cup while you were out there?
Oh, did I watch the FA Cup? I'm glad you've asked, Alex. Yes, I did. So actually, you'll really like this. Listeners, you're gonna love this. So as I said, we were staying at a villa. What we actually did was we found that we couldn't access the BBC in Portugal. So a techie friend did a VPN or downloaded a VPN or something. I don't know. I don't know about computers. And we used that to connect to some kind of like the VPN through the Wi-Fi to pretend that we're actually in England, so you can source it and stream it, blah, blah, blah. So we did that, pulled it through my laptop, put the laptop outside on like an outdoor table by the pool, got another smaller table, put it on the table sideways. So if you can imagine, this is top of the table, legs are out this way, put towels draped over the top. Reason being, the sun was then not on the screen. So you had a night like the TV was embedded in this table under towels, so you could watch it. So you're not like glaring at it or getting glare from the sun. And then we watched some of it sat like just outside the pool, and then some of it sat inside the pool, just dangling your feet in, elbows on the side, having a whale of a time. And of all the guys that were there, we were all United fans, so it was stupendous.
Oh, that's sick. So
What
you
about
can.
yourself? How did you watch it?
So I actually had dad came round. Fiona was off on a hen do in Manchester, so I dropped her off so she could get the tram. Me and my dad went for a walk, took the dog out, and like basically, I'd written it off as like we're probably going to lose. I'd made my peace with that. I had no expectation. I just wanted to see us play well, and it was the same thing going into the last couple of games of the season. Wasn't bothered if we beat Newcastle. Wasn't bothered if we beat Brighton or not. I just wanted to see us actually put some performances on. And it was the same with the FA Cup final because I think it'd been such a shit season, such a shit year. Um, I just didn't want to get humiliated. So we just decided that we were going to watch it, be open about it, like not worry if we got, beat. Um, so I took the dog out for a walk, went and got a few steaks, just thought, at the very least, we'll have a nice day. We'll sit down together and then we'll have dinner outside and stuff like that. And actually really enjoyed the game. It
Yeah,
turned a great day into an excellent day. And do you know what? This is the thing, and this is the reason I want to talk about this on the podcast today. Jonathan Homer, Manchester Titans head coach, spoke to him before the Merseyside game. He was up in the concourse, like in the gantry commentary area at Bellevue, and I was speaking to a few people on the sideline. I'd already got my kit on, ready to go, ready to warm up, and I was like, "Where is he? Where is he?" Because I'd not seen him yet. And they pointed him out to me, and I was just like, "Get in there, Garnacho for one, and it's Kobe Mainu." And he just started like just having this back and forth as he's up in the stands, and he's like, "Oh, shut up, talk about it on your podcast." And I was like, "Do you know what? I will. That's a great idea." So when I'm at training tonight, I'll remind him. I'll be like, "Right, Friday morning on your way to work, listen to it." Um, but yeah, I actually thought really, really good performance, and it just kind of got me thinking. I had a chat with a few of my former Tamworth teammates at GB on Saturday, talking to one of the Shadipos, talking to I should say one of the Shadipos. Like it's sort of, for me, they're almost like the Shadipo brothers, like a pair, like a package deal. It was Junior Shadipo. Talking to him, talking to Deji, and then there was a load of the Titans guys involved in the conversation as well. And as it was going on, I was kind of thinking like it all kind of centered around the theme of success and then the fragility of it and how brittle it can be and how easily those winning habits can be lost and everything can kind of seemingly fall apart. Um, and one of the things I was really conscious of was in the build up to the FA Cup. You know, when you're trying to do your reverse psychology and almost put a jinx on it. So I put a bet
yeah.
on I put a bet on Man City winning the league. I didn't want to put a bet on unbeaten United, but I put a bet on them winning the league. And I was like, look, if they win the league, I get more money. If they don't, I'll be happy because they haven't won the league anyway. So that doesn't matter. So I was talking to him and I was like, if like, you know, what did I say to him? Um, I was like, can we do a deal on the cup final? Would you take 3-0 if I offered it to you right now? And he was like, yeah, of course, what it's fucking cup final. I was like, okay, cool, deal. Because I was thinking like, it's going to be really bad. It's going to be a bloodbath, 4, 5, 6, 7, that kind of thing. So that was one. And then every City fan that I spoke to, I was like, what are you thinking for the cup final? And no word of a lie. Every single one, I will batter you. They were the words. I think we'll batter you. That's the level of arrogance and kind of I don't know how else to describe it. Arrogance, complacency, just cockiness, self-assuredness. Like, yeah, we'll batter you. You're not a problem. You're nothing to us. It's like you've been at the top for 5 minutes. Careful you don't get a nosebleed.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Mind yourself. Like you've had one good period with a
Yeah.
very, very good manager. You've had one. Like, and
And it,
let's not mention all the rules you've broken on the way to doing it. You fuckers. You cheating bastard. You know what you are. Um, see, and this was the whole thing. It's like just understand that at the very least, it's a one-off game. It's a derby. It's a cup final. Anything can happen in a football match, no matter who you are, no matter how good you are. Obviously, that was Real Madrid winning the Champions League and also knocking City out of the Champions League as well. Is even if you are the best team, winning can still turn on something, anything. So that fragility of being successful is just minuscule, isn't it?
yeah, I totally get the story as well because we had very similar situation. Everyone that we talked to is same thing, going to get battered, blah blah blah, and it's almost understandable. Like when you look at it, like I remember 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like no, whether you followed football or not, you knew who the United players were. You knew who was playing for Manchester United. Like they were icons, a lot of them. Now, like a lot of people have no idea who they are unless you're actually following United. And to me, I'm not claiming to be any better because I'm clearly not, but I don't think it's a phenomenal team. I don't think they're a great team. When you look at the players, I think they're good players. You don't look at them and think, wow, that is an amazing team. Whereas when you look at obviously what City have done and the players they've got, you think that's a strong 11, that's a strong lineup. So you'd look at it and you'd go, well, you would expect City to win, but there you go. There you go.
So what we're going to
I
do,
well, sorry.
so we're going to break down kind of the 5 key things that will somewhat bring you to your knees and pull you apart. We'll go through them bit by bit. Um, and then we've got another 3 factors which you can also think about. So if you're a manager, if you're a coach, if you're a player on a team that's either currently winning or has ambitions to win, basically, if you are a winner, you need to be aware of these things. 100%. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. Like these are things that you need to be aware of. So number one, top of the list, is complacency. It's that arrogance. It's that taking things for granted. Once you've achieved it, you're always going to be the number one, which is then likely to lead to reduced effort, reduced kind of creativity, reduced problem solving because you're already there. You're already at the pinnacle. Like there's nothing more for you to do. So it's can you create another level? So once you, in theory, get to the top, how do you then do it again? And that comes down to like goal setting and ability to be mindful about your practice, your procedures, what you do, and still have that drive for more. Because I think that's one of the things that seems to let a lot of people down is they get there and it's just like, I'm done now. I'm all right.
Yeah, and I think that's what catches people out. I think almost anyone would say that the likelihood is that you can get complacent at the top and they're not going to do that. But when you get there, I don't think people realize like it happens intrinsically and it's not just a conscious decision. Like you have actually made it, you have actually done the thing that you said you were trying to do. Like a lot changes physiologically. And unless you actually have something else that you are driving toward, or you have solid systems in place and presumably values as well as to how you hold yourself and how you hold yourself professionally, etc., to move forward, chances are you're just not going to hit the same standards.
Mm.
Like, even if you consciously try, just because you don't have that same innate drive anymore.
Yeah. And then this leads into number two, which is overconfidence. So developing that kind of cockiness, that assuredness will then lead you to underestimating opposition, other challenges. And that's the other factor is that, like, this comes into one of the things later on, but other teams are always going to be looking up at you and there's a target on your back. Like there's a reason at the Titans why we've got a decal on the back of our helmets, which is it's like it's a target, it's like a sniper crosshairs thing right on the back of the head because the teams that you're beating along the way, especially the ones that are somewhat relatively close or think they're there or thereabouts and think that they've got the beating of you, they're coming for you. And they're going to be doing everything within their power to overturn you. And if you're taking your foot off the gas and kind of relaxing and resting on your laurels, whilst they're not, if they were close anyway, it's probably not going to work out too well, is it?
Yeah, I think like from a professional background and stuff like this, in terms of like competing against teams or players and things like that, when you've competed against them once or played a game against them or whatever, a lot of time, well, if you win more often than not, like you think you know that team and you think you know those players, but if their training is appropriate, the next time you come up against them, even though it's the same players, they ain't going to be the same team because they're going to deploy different tactics and things like that, and they're going to feel different the day. They're going to be prepared differently. Like you're not playing against the same team. It's the same club name and kit and all that jazz. But if they're training properly, they're going to be prepared differently. It's a different game.
Have you ever come across that? Obviously, I know you've started. Do you say play jujitsu? Do you play at jujitsu?
Lots of jiu-jitsu players. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit like it always seems a bit weird. It's like you're having a proper scrap with someone. Like it's not playing, is it?
usually
Like,
roll. Usually,
like me and you, we used to play fight as a kid. Oh, in fact, that's probably the perfect example in terms of that overconfidence, that arrogance, that self-assuredness, and then one day the opposition will do something and you all of a sudden, like for instance, if me and you were having a bit of a scrap, a bit of a a little bit of a play fight, and then all of a sudden you fucking bop me one properly, and I might be like, wasn't expecting that, and you've caught them on the back foot. Like it's that. Have you ever been surprised in that kind of way by anyone at jiu-jitsu? Even though I know you've not been doing it that long, but
yeah. So I not in the sense of so I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to batter everyone, and I never have done it like that. So kind of know because I don't. If someone gets me, they get me. That's just the way it is. But at the same time, there are certain people where, like, I wouldn't even label them as people. Like, you roll against them and you
you
used to.
fucking ruined that.
I mean, in the sense, like, you roll against them and you used to roll against them and you roll against them a lot. And you kind of have an idea as to what their go-to is. Because even if, like, they don't think they've got a set plan, there's set things that they do. Like, there's people now, I couldn't tell you what the names are, but I know for a fact that if I was rolling with them, this is probably where they're going to try and get me to end up. And I don't think it's something to think about. It's just what happens. But it just doesn't always go that way. And sometimes, like you might be more tired than them, they might be more tired than you. Like they might roll you over with something that you normally always roll them over with. They might catch you with something that you've never seen before and never even heard of. Honestly, one of the things with jiu-jitsu is, and this is apparent with every sport, but massively noticeable for jiu-jitsu, like if you go twice in 1 week versus someone who's been 4 times that week. So the way that we work at our place, and I'm assuming at most places, is you will practice the same position or a specific thing like for the whole week. So if I get 2 times exposure to practicing guard bottom that week, and someone's been 4 times, and even though I normally batter them or rear naked choke them within 30 seconds each time, but they've done guard bottom 5 times that week, and I rock up on Saturday feeling like Mr. Billy Big Bollocks. I'm rolling with them. They've had way more exposure. They'll do something that you've just not seen before or that you've just not practiced because it is like different every time. And unfortunately, when you're not that good,
Maybe it's the coach giving them the secret sauce on a Friday night, going when he turn up tomorrow, do this.
but it's funny because sometimes they'll do like the professors will come over to watching you. Honestly, if someone is telling you what to do while you're rolling, even though let's say I'm the aggressor and he's telling the defender how to get out, even if he tells the defender how to get out, and you can hear, oh, he's just told him to move his left leg over here, so I'm going to stop that from happening. It is you got no chance. You got no chance if they know what to do and you don't know what to do based on what they're doing. You got no chance. That's just the way it works. And I remember we've had a few times where like I brought like a friend down, or Harvey's brought a friend down, or we brought someone down for their first time, and like we're like 4-stripe white belts, so we're not like great or anything like that. We've done it for a year and done a lot of sessions. If you know a little bit, if you know one thing, in fact, you will beat the other person. You just will. If you know one thing, because you can just put them in that one thing, or you can
Gonna
move
have to we're gonna have to do this.
it.
Me and you, we're gonna have to do this. It's that whole thing of like, sometimes American football, you might get off the team bus or you see the opposition for the first time and you think, oh, they're small, or oh, he's really fat, he won't be any good. Like we had it this year. We see the other team playing online, we watch them on tape, we get the film, and you break them down, and everyone develops these things in their head, this inflated level of confidence and ability of what we're capable of. And ultimately, the talk about the other team is like, oh, he's shit, they're slow, he's not very strong, he's going to be really slow, he's not fast. And then you actually get there, and in reality, in real life, the way you actually measure up to them is they are far fucking quicker than you thought. They're far faster, far stronger. Everything's more powerful and more explosive and just snappier than what comes across on your external observation. So that's where that arrogance, that overconfidence, and that inflated level of, it's good to have that bit of confidence in your own belief, but don't let it be misguided to the point where relatively decent opposition get labeled as shit, because that's when you will then get a bit of a slap around the face and a bit of a surprise and a bit of a shock.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think people need to be aware of a lot of time. Obviously, we do judge people like if we've not played against before. The only thing you can go off is the visual look. Like you watch them, you see how they move, what they're doing, and things like that. In jiu-jitsu, honestly, big people, small people, tall people, curly people, stiff people, they will all beat you. They will all beat you, and there's no specific standard or body type or thing like that. Obviously, it helps to have certain things, but you just can't look at someone and think, if anything, loads of people say like, now that you can do a bit, do you feel like you could beat up anyone? And actually, I've gone the opposite way. Now I'm like, I'm not going to try it with anyone because you just do not know. You have no idea. Funnily enough, this is my last point about jiu-jitsu. I was listening to a podcast the other day and the guy was saying one of the most common characteristic or trait, or I can't remember specifically what he said, but common themes among people at the top of jiu-jitsu is autism. Like if they have autism, they are levels apart from anyone else because it's so technical and requires intelligence and obviously cognitive skills and thinking and problem solving, etc. It was just like, and that ability to just focus on one thing and just set your head into it, you'll be all levels apart. And it don't matter what they look like, they'll beat
It's
you.
mad because I can't remember who I was talking to a while ago, but it was like, if you were going to get in a fight with someone in the street or whatever, it's literally a case of you'd better finish it as quickly as fucking possible, because if you get on the floor and start having to wrestle with someone, you don't know what's going to happen. Like you could pick a really skinny bloke or a really small guy and just think, oh, I'll easily take him in a fight, and then before you know it, you're on the floor in a chokehold and he's broken your leg. Like it's just mad, isn't it? It's scary thinking about like what people like. I don't know. You never really know what someone's capable of, do you? And that's not a warning shot for anyone, by the way.
No, it's true. So I think I said this on one of the other ones. When I brought my mate Ryan down for the first time, he was showing with the professor come over and he was showing us. And the professor's not like muscular or anything like that. He just looks like a normal, unsuspect guy. And the difference when he's, I say rolling, like I don't roll with him as in like sparring, but if he's showing you something and he's like putting the positions out, etc., he's not squeezing or trying super hard or anything. He just knows exactly what to do. And he says many a time, it's like, honestly, if you just do this, that person will eventually die. You don't need to squeeze him. You don't need to like dive an headbutt or do any or punch him. Honestly, you just get on top of him and you like if you're above their chest and there's pressure down in their lungs, and they just every time they take a deep breath in and their belly sucks in a bit, and you're closing that space, they're
Yeah.
eventually gonna run out of room and they can only take short breaths. You're around them, you got your arms around the back of them. They ain't going anywhere, and they're not getting out. They will eventually die. That he says it's that simple. And if there's not a referee there, like if you're out on the street and someone does this to you and they know a little bit, but they're a bit of an idiot, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple. They'll put you out cold and they'll stay there and you will die. It's that simple.
Oh, we're gonna have a play, me and you. We need a play. And this all comes down to like one of the things that actually gets people to the top that I think a lot of people forget about is practicing the fundamentals, doing the fundamentals consistently. Like the people at the top do those better than anybody. Once you get there, if you neglect them, you will be on that downward spiral. You will be on the downward path because anybody that is likely to overtake you will be doing the fundamentals. And if you neglect what actually got you to that level of success in the first place, I don't know what to tell you. You're pretty screwed. You're turning your back on everything that got you there, and the things that get you there will keep you there to an extent. But then you need to innovate. You need to develop new practices, new way of doing things, and still maintain the level of intensity and drive and desire to continue to be at the top or push to another level.
Yeah, it's having, I guess, some kind of systems in place that allow you to keep doing stuff. I know with a lot of sports, once you start doing something, you then learn there's technical aspects to it. And once you overcome, like, okay, now you're doing it, you're motivated to carry on coming, you learn some things, like you learn there's technical components whereby usually in the form of body shapes and body positions and the way you apply your body to certain things to create force, etc. Blah blah blah. In no matter what you're doing, that goes for any sport. If you're in hockey, I'm sure there's a certain way you hold your stick and you hit the ball. If you're playing football, there's a certain way you want to create certain body shapes, follow through in the direction you're trying to pass, or in order to create a certain curl, whatever. Certain things that you want to be doing and practicing and honing those things. And if you can do those really, really well, you're better than people that can do the fancy stuff but can't do the actual basic fundamental shit.
And to be honest, I don't really know what the reason or excuse would be for neglecting them. Like, I mean, there's one of the things that I do. Well, there's quite a few things that I do, but with kicking, I will spend time in my sessions just practicing dropping the ball for punting and being able to punt well. I'll just walk down a line, drop the ball, walk down a line, drop the ball. I'll go through leg swings. I'll go through numerous kind of smooth, slow single leg steps or leg swings and just work on getting good ball contact, maintaining some sort of follow through. And these are all fundamentals, which are like they're very simply just part of the warm up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a case of just going down, turning up, getting out of the ball bag and just whacking big kicks and practicing the fancy stuff. It's literally just make the fundamentals part of your warm up. It's really, really simple.
I think people, for example, for what you do, people will see you kick a ball and they'll think, right, you just have to be able to kick a ball pretty hard in a straight line without thinking, oh, actually, how do you kick a ball in a straight line? Because there's got to be an act to it. If you can do it, there's an act to it. Well, actually, you want to be striking a certain part of your foot on a certain part of the ball and following through in a certain way with your leg. So if you're following through in a certain way with your leg, you need to be standing a certain way, which means your body needs to be in a certain shape, in a certain position in order to allow you to do that. And people just don't think about that and they don't care about it because they think as long as I kick this ball really far that way, that's what everyone sees. And that's what everyone thinks is like the thing that gets me esteem and acclaim and that I've done well, etc. And actually, is all the micro other things that seem like not a lot, but actually they are what creates exactly that outcome that you are looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And number four on the list, we've already mentioned a little bit of creativity and innovative mindset. And number four is resistance to change. So sticking with the same strategies, the same methods, becoming rigid, not adapting to, I don't know, saying like new trends, new tactics, new shifts, new styles of play, new plays, like for instance in American football, and developing your offense or developing your defense, doing things slightly differently to kind of, we mentioned about the other team's opposition chasing you down. There's a target on your back. And, if you stick to the same basic stuff, it becomes really easy for people to scout and go, right, well, we know their tendencies. We know what they're going to do in this situation. You have to adapt and develop a new way of playing. Like I was listening to it was to the overlap. It was Gary Neville with Rio Ferdinand, I think, and they were talking about Man United versus Barcelona, 2009, 2010, maybe those 2 years in a row, I think, or it might have even been like 2009 and 2011. But it was a case of Fergie was sticking to this is the way we play. We're going to go with that. That's our plan. It was like, well, should we not have an idea or a tactic of how to deal with this person, and this person for Barcelona? It's like, nope, this is the way we play. That's our system. We're going to make them deal with us. And again, like perfect example, that little bit of overconfidence, that little bit of arrogance, that lack of, I would say, maybe awareness of the situation and resistance to actually change tactics, techniques, and think about what is our number one route to being able to win this game. Like we mentioned at the start, anything can happen in a cup final.
Yeah, and I think it's easily done as well. It's easy to go in situations like that. I can kind of see how Fergie might go, well, we don't want Barcelona to play their game, because if they play their game, we're screwed. So it's very easy to be like, well, so we're going to take it to them. They're going to play our game instead. But it doesn't always work like that. And I can also see how, like, a lot of people, a lot of coaches, and a lot of players as well, they think, okay, this is what we did when we won. This is what works. But like we said previously, like that works against the teams that you played against last season who didn't know you were going to do that. Like they couldn't stop that. But now they've all seen it, they've all experienced it, they've got experience against you specifically. Like it's not going to be a new thing that comes up against them. They've planned for it, they've trained for it. And unless it's levels above what anyone else can do to stop it. And I think actually going on to the past point, if you've mastered your basics and your fundamentals and your foundationals, that's what sets you apart there. That's what makes it more likely. You'll know yourself, there's certain occasions in sporting scenarios where you know that an opposition player is going to do a specific thing. You know they're going to, and you know when they're going to do it, but you still can't stop it. They do it anyway, and you got no chance because they're that good at it.
Yeah.
So
But you've got to at least give yourself a chance.
yeah,
Do your homework every time. Study your opposition and come up with a plan. At least just have a plan. Don't be Keir Starmer. Have an actual plan. Don't spend 14 years chasing being the opposition and being the bottom of the barrel. Have a plan for when you actually want to be foot in the door. Little political dig there. And then number five, in terms of our pitfalls of success, like one of the things that comes along with it, with winning, is obviously the increased scrutiny, the pressure of being the one at the top, having that pressure of maintaining high performance, having to deal with the stress and the anxiety that comes along with it. Obviously, increased criticism if you lose. I think the women's game, football, they're finding out a lot of that right now, where they've got a lot more publicity. There's a lot more fame and fortune coming along with it, and the game is improving and increasing in standard. But the more eyes that are on it, especially if it's Joey Barton's eyes, it's going to be pretty critical. So, I mean, have you ever been in a position where you've had to deal with a level of criticism like that?
yeah, yeah. I feel like just doing the job that we do, we're in for that because people who aren't in the position that we're in terms of the way that we view health and fitness, like, and this isn't even a sporting perspective, this is just a lifestyle perspective. They don't see things the way that you see things. So they don't see life as, well actually, no, I do eat what I want to eat, but what I want to eat is good stuff. And I don't want to be out partying until 2 a.m. Like, they see that and they think, well, you're a fucking weirdo. You're a sado with no life and no friends. Like, it's just their perspective. It's like, well, you're welcome to think that, but I'd rather be in bed at 10 p.m. There's nothing good
Yeah.
happening in the club at 11 p.m. but onwards.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like obviously, if you see someone who's absolutely shredded, people that don't really know them, they go, "Oh, he's on roids. He's not a natty. He's not natural." Instant judgment, instant criticism, just because you are in their eyes kind of above and beyond.
Yeah, and then so going with that as well, obviously me being a trainer at the gym that we have, we're obviously a bespoke personal training facility. I remember I joined in with one of the classes, it was probably a few months ago now, it's probably about 3.5, 4 months ago. And like, classes are what classes are. And your fitness levels do not determine whether or not the class is easy. Like, the effort that you put in determines whether or not the class is easy. And I was absolutely spunked. At the end of it, I had spent myself. I was absolutely done. I was
You
not.
you were what?
I was done. I was absolutely done. And a couple of members come over to me like, I thought you were meant to be fit. I was like, mate, I've just been swinging 222s around my head. You're over there with a 5 kilo dumbbell. Obviously,
Do you remember what you were saying before about jiu-jitsu? That's where you could just put them on the floor, get them in a position where they will eventually die. You could educate them in that situation. You could
but
go, right,
people think like, oh, I'm super fit now, so this class won't be hard. No, you don't. You have greater capacity for output. In order to get a training stimulus, you don't just go in and do like the bare minimum. You go in and you work to the percentage that you need to be working at, and therefore you get a stimulus achieved, and you get a good buddy. What's the word I'm looking for? Adaptation. Sorry, so
but that's it, isn't it? It's like, yeah, okay, you might be able to bench 100 kilos, but if you only ever keep benching that, you're not going to get any stronger.
yeah.
Really, like, I mean, you would if you massively increase your volume, but you will be putting a limit on it. Like, you won't get that much stronger in comparison if you try to continuously do more and more and more. Um,
Just on that point there, sorry, were you asking me about, are you ever in a position of criticism? I think a lot of times people criticize you on the things that aren't actually important. Whenever someone says something, I know it's obviously a philosophical quote. Whenever someone says something, it says more about them than it does about the other person anyway. When they criticize, they're criticizing on what they think. So someone might criticize you on the way that you've kicked the ball, but actually they've got no idea if these 3, 4, 5, 600 different things all happen in the micro of a second before you kick the ball. Like, they've got no idea. So they just think, oh, he's shit at kicking a ball. And they might have seen you kick a ball once versus like 700 that you do a season, whatever it is. Like, they've got no idea and they'll
I mean,
criticize. So
to be honest, I think with that kind of stuff, I'm in a position where I would say I'm definitely my own harshest critic. So like like for instance, if as soon as anything goes wrong, if I can, misjudge something or mishit it slightly, like even if it still goes through, if it's not bang down the middle, I'm thinking, fucking hell, that was fucking sloppy. Like this happened, that happened, and you.
I just want to confirm that I know this firsthand that you are, because you used to, one thing that used to really piss me off is we'd be playing like, let's just take cricket as an example. And let's just say it's me and you absolutely smash the ball back over my head. Like, easy would have been a 4. If we're just like bowling down some nets or something and we're just having a laugh. And you would do a perfectly good shot, and I've got no chance of stopping it, catching it, doing anything. It goes blazing past me, and then you'd go, "Fucking hell, I didn't catch that one, right?" And I'm just thinking, mate, you've just slopped. I'm gonna have to walk 10 minutes to go and get it. It used to really frustrate me, but that's the kind of mindset that you've got where you are. It's almost like perfectionism, isn't it? It's like honing your craft. It's like, well, actually, I need to hit that a little bit better next time. It might have been a good result this time, but a better bowler like might catch you out or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's one of those situations where I think if you are your own harshest critic, or like not even necessarily, you don't have to be excessively harsh on yourself. Like you could still be fair, but you just have to be brutally honest with yourself to the point where there's nothing that, like for instance, there's nothing that a coach can say to me that would upset me because I've already said it to myself. I've probably said worse to myself. There's probably worse going through my head in terms of, oh, you fucking blah, 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 and having a go at myself versus anything that they could ever do or emulate on a sideline. Like there is nothing that they could do that would, really, I would say get to me. There's absolutely nothing because it's already going on inside my own head. It's already happened. Then I don't really know quite how, but I do feel like I get rid of things pretty quickly. Like everyone in sport, I think one of the best things to have is a short-term memory. That way, if you fuck up, it's gone. You try some. I don't. Did you watch Champions League final the other night?
No.
Right, perfect example. Vinicius Junior, incredible player, incredibly quick feet, incredibly fast, and the ball would get pinged out to him, and he'd try something, and the defender would get back and nick it. But then he'd try something again and again and again. And it's like for all the times that the defender won that battle and had that dominant kind of that dominance in that 1v1 situation, the thing was Vinicius Jr., he only ever needs to win once
Yeah.
and you're in big trouble. And that's the way I think a lot of people need to look at their matchups. Have that really short-term memory. Think, right, he's beat me there. This is what he's done. So next time I'm going to try this. And just keep doing things. Keep trying. Again, going back to what we were talking about at the very start of this podcast, if you're doing things, if you're active, if you're consistently playing around with things, trying things, being creative, and putting yourself out there, something will come off. It can't not. And the thing is, you only need to win once. You only need to break through that little bit one time, and you're on to a winner. So I actually thought that about watching his performance the other night because I think there's a lot of people that could learn a lesson from that. Is have that short-term memory. If you get beat, fine, doesn't matter. Just win the next one. Try and win the one after that. Try and win the one after that, and consistently keep chipping away. Find a way to win. Um, so have that ability to just kind of let the moment go, get rid of it, and focus on the next part of the performance. And then I think we've got three final things that you need to be aware of with regards to maintaining a winning team. So three factors that can really pull down a winning team and, you know, tear away at the foundations of that winning organization if you haven't got things in place and you're not taking care of those five things that we've already mentioned, which were complacency, overconfidence, fundamentals, the resistance to change, and then, you know, dealing with that increased scrutiny and the weight of expectation. So number one is just being aware of the external factors. Other teams are going to come and get you. Other teams are going to improve. The league quality might improve. Standards are going to change. Players will move on. Other players will come into other teams. There's nothing you can do to affect what other teams are doing. Absolutely nothing. Unless you want to go and buy up a load of their players and really disrupt them, there is absolutely nothing you can do. So you need to be aware that other teams are going to get better. They are going to improve and they are going to pose a challenge. A little bit like you in your jiu-jitsu, like when you turn up on the Saturday morning and Freddie on Friday night got the coach's secret sauce and has learned how to put you in a proper chokehold, and then you roll with him in the morning, you think, look at hell, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Number two, and this is a good one. I'd like to know your thoughts on this, but internal issues within the team. So this is one where personalities are always changing. Like personnel is always changing. A new person coming into the environment might be good for some people, bad for other people. The dynamics are always shifting. That is a continuous influx situation where people might feel like they become a little bit arrogant, a bit entitled, like they've earned something. Their own expectations of what the team gives back to them kind of changes. Have you ever had to deal with any of that kind of stuff?
I mean, I think it goes without saying in any team sports, when you think when you're kids, it always makes me think of like there'd be three or four people that are significantly better than the rest, sometimes one or two that are significantly better, and they keep the possession of whatever it is, a ball, whatever, they smash everyone, they do everything by themselves. When you're moving towards like like semi-pro, well, even semi-pro, but professional or elite level, like you do have people that are still better, but everyone is in a team playing a specific role. And it's like when you talk about the Spartans and the phalanx and stuff like that. Like one person doesn't do what they're meant to do, and the whole thing falls apart. And there are so many components, including external things that you were talking about earlier, that can affect one person's performance. Like some days you can feel like, have you ever had this? You wake up and you feel great, you feel like you're moving great, and you have an absolute stinker. If that happens for one person in a squad of 11 or however many people you have on a field, like that could be the difference, big time. So, yeah, making sure that the team is inaugurated and working well together and doing their roles, like holding their roles, because like sometimes it could be, you know what, the goalkeeper is the most important person on the pitch today. Obviously, that's a football example. The kicker is the most important person today. Like, how many times have you seen it where a kicker like gets the points in like the last 3 to 5 seconds, and that's it, game over. Like they obviously everyone's still the most important, but that person scoring that in the last 3 to 5 seconds was the difference. And if you weren't there, you wouldn't have won. You don't get the points. You
Yeah.
don't get what have you. Like it could be.
Equally, equally, when the kicker is kicking the winning points, there's still 11 people on the field for each team. Everyone's got to do their job. Every
Yeah,
that's a big thing, actually.
got to be blocked.
That's the huge thing that I think you can't lose sight of, is that for a winning team to maintain and be successful on a continuous basis, everybody has to do their job, whether it's the managers, the coaches, the scouts, the physios, the assistants, the sports science guys, the um, people in the canteen. Like everybody has to be dialed in with that focus and that energy towards we are the number one. Like this is what we do. Um, and number three, I think this is probably what makes it hardest to stay there, as well as that team dynamic. Managing that, I think, requires a lot of skill and a very intuitive coaching staff, leadership group. And then the final part, which gets to everybody at some stage, is burnout.
Death. Oh,
Burnout. Like either you get to the point where you're just too old, your legs have gone, you're slow, you're just not able to perform, and your physical attributes kind of not leave you, but you know, drift away somewhat. But that effort that is required to stay at the top, sometimes I was just mentioned just the drive. You just go, do you know what? I just feel tired now. And like, after X number of seasons of doing it year in, year out, whether you're a player or a coach or another member of staff, it's not easy to just carry on and carry on and carry on. Like a lot of people will run out of steam before others.
yeah. I had an interesting conversation with someone. I think it was last week where they were saying, I think he was talking about a golf perspective, but he was saying like an older person has more responsibilities, more things on their mind, and he was speaking in forms of athlete and stuff like that. More things to worry about, more things to try and calculate. Like they're less tenacious generally, and if you've been at the top, whereas it's like they say the wolf at the bottom of the hill's hungrier than the wolf at the top. Like, whereas a younger person, a fresher person, someone who's new to the game, someone who isn't at the top yet, is going to be more tenacious and therefore have a bigger drive and therefore more likely to risk things and therefore more likely to pull some things off as well. So,
And I think you see a couple of really good examples of people that have had that drive all the way through and then have managed to maintain it and have either overachieved or completely raised the bar. So like go massive overachiever, Gary Neville, just standing the test of time. I would even, you could potentially even add into that conversation Ryan Giggs, for as good as he was and as talented as he was. Like one of the biggest things that made him excellent to start with was his ability to dribble with the ball and beat people with pace. He didn't have that when I was watching him at Old Trafford, as a 15-year-old, like when he's in his 30s, like he wasn't doing that. He was doing other jobs and he'd adapted his game. He'd found a different way to play. You could even argue the same about, on a similar level, like the ability to continue to set goals and go again. Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, we're talking about the absolute goats of not just their sport, but any sport, like the best in the world. Novak Djokovic, I mean, imagine, like, if Novak Djokovic, Nadal, or Federer had been around at any other time, and all three of them are around at once, it's crazy how many titles they could have won without each other.
Yeah, and do you know what goes with that as well is when all of these extra like things, all these athletic components and stuff start to fail as you do age and stuff like that, or as you have less of a drive, etc. It will be your basics that will actually carry you through. So it's people that have mastered the basics that are no longer as athletically capable, as long as they've got still some kind of technical component, which they will if they're playing at an elite level, they will have to play the basics. Like that is what they would have to do. Like that's simple. And if they've mastered them, they'll be able to stay in the game for longer.
So what I want to do now is just wrap up with three basic things or three key steps that you can take to actually avoid success from slipping away. And I already mentioned that there's not a lot you can do. Other teams will come along, there'll be freakish situations, you will just get beaten by bad luck, bad decision, or maybe even just slightly better opposition on the day. But three things that will help you stand the test of time, either as an individual athlete, as a coach, as a team. Um, Let me know if you've got anything that you'd add to this list, Chris. But number one, I'm going for fundamentals. Practice the fundamentals again and again and again and again and again, and just make it part of every single thing you do. Never turn your back on those. Number two, I've gone for goal setting, which included in that, like you have to have a clear goal, you have to have a clear ambition and a set standard of behaviors and habits of this is how we do things, this is the way we perform, this is the way we behave on game day, this is where our focus is at this point in time, and just drill that in and drain it in. And I think like that's what you see out of some of the best teams on the planet is like everything is dialed in, everything clicks, and they don't even have to think about it. They know what they're about. And then the third one, number three, is be innovative, because I think this will actually help take away from the boredom, the fatigue, the burnout, the staleness. Like, again, if you're practicing the same drills again and again and again, week in, week out, year in, year out, eventually there's gets a time where individuals and even some of the best players will get bored of that shit. You have to continuously make it exciting, present new challenges, present new situations while still drilling the fundamentals, but maybe in a slightly different way to how you've done it previously. So be innovative, come up with new tactics, new skills, new methods, new set ways of doing things. Allow, especially your older players, your veteran players, allow them the opportunity to be creative and use their time, their experience on the pitch to come up with new ways of doing things, because they will probably be the next batch of coaches at the end of it all, won't they? So those are my top three. I've gone fundamentals, goal setting, and be innovative with your practice. And I think they will be three very simple key steps to actually keeping you at the top. Anything you'd add to those? Anything or
No,
any general comments on it?
yeah, I completely agree. I was thinking in my head before you said them. Obviously, basics. The only thing that I maybe would add, but you meant this anyway, is with goal setting, make sure there's some kind of feedback slash openness to analysis and criticism and feedback, so you can develop and move yourself forward. But that is what you meant with goal setting, I assume anyway. So no, I wouldn't change anything outside of those three.
Yes, indeedy. Cool. Well, that wraps up episode number 102. I'm Don't know about you, but I'm going to go downstairs and I've got a few bits of admin to do before I'm back in the gym for sessions and then on the training pitch all night tonight. So busy day, haven't stopped. Managed to eat during my mentoring session with Matt this morning, and we'll be doing everything on the fly and on the run from now onwards. So, um, yes, busy day for me for the rest of the day. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same, but minus the training. Back to gym sessions until 7. So yeah.
There you go, people. We're flat out. You go flat out too. Do things, experiment with things, be creative, be innovative, and go and smash your training. If there's anything you need us for, you know where to reach us. Hit us on the gram, drop us a DM. Or you can actually, we've got fan mail on this. I don't know, I might have mentioned it in one of the previous podcasts, but you can click on a button or a link for this podcast that you're listening to right now, and you can send us a message of some sort, positive feedback. Maybe leave us a rating if you've enjoyed the episode, found it useful. That would be absolutely wicked. And share it with someone as well. Share it with someone that you think needs to hear it. If you've got someone on your team that you think is being a bit cocky, a bit arrogant, little bit blasé and taking their shit for granted, pass this on to them. Let me punch them in the face with the truth and reality, and Chris can choke them to death at the same point in time, and we'll see who gets the job done faster. Anyway, that concludes episode 102. We'll be back again with more next time out. Thank you very, very much for listening. That is it from us. Lenko out.